everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again. This time we are here with Tuomas of Wolfheart, our fourth interview. Great to be able to talk with you again. Thanks for being here.
Nice talking again, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love is, too, every time I spoke to you, we were talking about something new. The first time I spoke to you, we were talking about Constellations of the Black Light. Then we talked about Wolves of Cryella. And then we talked about the Skull Soldiers EP. But now we got King of the North out, which I think is the best Wolfheart album in the catalog. Was this conceptually picking up where you left off after Wolves of Cryella? Or was this meant to be a continuation of Skull Soldiers? Or was it a new beginning in the Wolfheart catalog?
It was supposed to be more like direction to the debut album, Winterborn. Like I kind of like had my battery empty of the whole war topic after the Skull Soldier EP. That was the second release in a row, focused only on the winter war between Finland and Russia back in the days in the Second World War. And when we were doing the Skull Soldier, I already exactly knew what direction I want to take the music. So it's more like a fresh start. But look a little bit back in the history of the band.
Definitely. I do see like a lot of tributes to like an album such as Winterborn and even some elements of Shadow World as well. I never would have expected to see a collaboration with you and Jesse Leach as well. So was there like a lot of new territory that you were stepping in with the collaboration, and were you like experimenting with stuff that you never done before in Wolfheart or any other project you were involved with?
Well, the whole thing started as an accident. It wasn't supposed to happen. When we were starting the recordings of the album, our management was asking, is there any bigger name that we would like to have on the album that they could start asking around? And I already told them at that time that no, we definitely don't want any guest vocals on the album, because both Vangelis and Lauri have a lot bigger role as vocalists. So there's 3 guys doing vocals already on the album. So I said, like, definitely no, we don't need or want anybody. But when we were mixing the album last October, I got one fan was sending me an Instagram message with the link to Jesse's stories, and he had one of our songs playing on the background. I had to write him a message like a nice choice of a song, and then he replied telling me he's been a fan of Wolfheart for years, and that would be exactly his type of music, what he would like to do as a vocalist. I didn't have the song for him because we already had all the vocals done. We were mixing the album, so I wrote additional song for the album to have his vocals on the album. So everything connected with his vocals was completely out of the box, unplanned. Everything was different than usually when it comes to that song and that collaboration.
Yeah, well, I love it when always collaborations that sound very odd on paper usually end up being the best in a while. And a lot of people are calling that song Wolfheart Engage, which I think is just incredible.
Well, I like how, that's a cool term, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to hear that live one day, and never say never. Being that you were kind of distancing yourself from the war theme for the making of this album and kind of exploring a different concept in a way, did this alter how you were writing the music itself as well?
Yeah, it did. It was surprisingly a lot that it was affecting the songwriting. Then again, the Winter War, even though it's very Finnish topic and very inspiring for every Finnish person that is connected to art, I would say, it is the biggest moment in our history, basically. But it's war that lasted 3 months in one winter. So it's very like a narrow box also to dig the inspiration. All the stories and everything around is just pointing to the same core. But when you go with the Nordic and Finnish mythology, it's as wide as it can be, connecting nature and natural phenomena to demigods and everything like that. So, of course, it's I have like 10 times more inspiration and different like stories and beliefs and everything inspiring for the songwriting and the stories. So it opened a lot of doors, and it also all the songs are based on separate stories in the Finnish mythology. So I really had the urge to write the songs in a way that they tell a story too. Mm-hmm. Like the songs have to be part of the story, not just the background for the lyrics that are the written story. So yeah, I can hear it afterward. I didn't feel that when I was writing. I was just excited to get to write a new album. But now listening back to the album, that definitely had a big effect.
100%. And I've always said that, like, if I were to listen to just the instrumentation of a Wolfheart album, I would really be able to get the story of what you're telling me. Like, I feel like the music in itself is a language that expresses that just as much as the lyrics do, in a way. Do you feel, though, that maybe the concept of an album or the meaning of it can evolve over time as well, in a way, like as you grow as an artist? Or do you prefer if every Wolfheart album is more or less just a representation in time of who you and the band were?
It is definitely a representation of the time and that moment. So many things are affecting it, not just my songwriting, but the whole band around me, my sound engineer and producer also. Everybody's been in the same team for past 10 years. So a lot of things affect. It's just not just me in the core with the songwriting itself. So it's a lot of things are affecting. So that's yeah. I could pinpoint several things like outside myself with each album recording session that had a huge effect on the album itself, that came from personal lives and on that moment or stuff like that. So yeah.
And when you're writing a subject matter about war, in a way, and a history lesson, obviously there's a lot of research that goes involved in it, and you're exploring a lot of elements outside of yourself. But is there also a lot of looking inward? Is there a lot of personal inspiration that also contributes to how you write an album that expresses a specific story?
I think my personal input is more in the music. I try to be more neutral and honest with the lyrics. Of course, as a lyric writer, I see things from my perspective, but I try to respect the theme as much as possible. I try to avoid coloring the stories with my imagination. But then again, my imagination and creativity plays a huge role in the music already. So I don't need the lyrics to be on the same level, especially when like the topic like Winter War is it doesn't leave much like a freedom for interpretation or imagination. It was like it happened. So you don't want to color and change the facts too much.
Mm-hmm. Has there ever been a time where a future concept or like maybe a vision of foreshadowing something could also inspire a Wolfheart lyric or music, in a way? Or are you mainly focused on the past and concept of things that came before?
For Wolfheart, yes. For other bands might be different, but Wolfheart is so connected also with the Nordic origin and nature. So it comes naturally to look back in the history. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't see any futuristic topics or stuff like that being in part of Wolfheart. Yeah.
Yeah. So no collaborations with Fear Factory for Wolfheart.
No. I was a huge fan of the band back in the day, so nothing against the band, but yeah, I wouldn't see that as a good collaboration. Yeah.
Never say never, though, right?
Yeah. Accidents happen, like it happened now already. So who knows?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you weren't saying in 2013 we're going to collaborate with Jesse Leach.
No, I definitely did not. Yeah.
But when it comes to bands that do use historical elements for history, whether it would be Sabaton or Ad Infinitum or something like that, are you looking at other mediums as a source of inspiration, whether it will be literature or film on those certain events or art pieces on those certain events, in a way?
Well, I've been so focused on the Finnish history. It is a little bit different than the rest of Nordic countries, and definitely different than the rest of Europe. Finland is super young country. Our history and especially the mythology is very badly documented. Like if you compare to Norwegian mythology with very structured like a religion, with Odin and Valhalla, and like all the things are also very easy to access to everybody. We even have Netflix series about Vikings. Everybody knows something about Viking history somehow, but the Finnish mythology is not basically documented at all. A lot of them are just like spoken stories that were passed to generation, or just some of the stuff that I was digging out was like just parts of the poems or songs that kind of gave some part of the story. So So yeah, it's completely different than that you mentioned, like Sabaton, that is picking up the stories direct. They could just pick up the lyrics from Wikipedia. I do appreciate them a lot. This is not nothing negative, but it's kind of like easier path when those are clear historical events that they are just putting into the songs. But yeah, it's a little bit more complicated with the Finnish one. But then again, that feels so much closer to me to write about. So I don't think I could do like that wide, like topic like they are doing, because they have chosen all the wars in the human history basically as their like a playing board. So mine is a lot more narrow.
I'm glad you brought that up. The reason why I was looking at my phone is because a friend of mine messaged me. I just had my first trip to Sweden recently, actually in the summer, and I heard that like when it comes to Finland and Sweden, that there is like almost like a competitive ancestry, and I say competitive for lack of better words, and not just with heavy metal music, but in terms of the ancestry that evolves with the mythology, because. I heard it was like by the end of the 19th century, Finland was fully independent from Sweden in a way, but at one point it was a part of it or something like that. Is that like a historical element that's talked about a lot?
Well, it's not really. Like Finland was just like a strip of a land that was either under ruling of Russia or Sweden. So we didn't have that kind of like identity back in the days. So it wasn't. I haven't heard much of a talk about that. It became a bigger issue with the First and Second World War when we had the issues with Russia.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the main things with Sweden are basically based on ice hockey. That's the painful part of our neighbor country, because we have done really well lately, but if you look the overall score, they seem to be tiny bit better still. And that causes a lot of mental pain in the Finnish population, but it doesn't go that far in the history. Like we don't hold any grudges in a historical way.
Okay.
But it's very like a present and ongoing thing when it goes into sports.
Okay.
So,
and music. I mean, one country has Slaughter of the Soul, the other one has Follow the Reaper. Like I mean, so.
Yeah, but then again, with the music, it doesn't like. I don't see any like rivalry in the music.
No, 100%.
I know already that Finland has a lot better metal audience. A lot of the Swedish bands actually come to Finland to make tours quite often because of that. So it's musically it doesn't like, we are basically like brothers. But when you bring ice hockey back into the conversation, things can get really ugly really fast.
I learned how good Swedes are at drinking so if I ever go back to Sweden, I'm going to be sure to bring that up next time I'm at a bar.
Bring that up and tell me how that went.
Yeah, I'll just say, hey, sorry guys, but I hate to break it to you, the Rangers beat all of you. No, I'm just kidding. But I kind of wanted to turn back the clock a little bit in the Wolfheart camp, because next year is going to be 10 years of Winterborn, the debut Wolfheart album. Kind of like two questions in one, but can you see Wolfheart maybe doing some sort of celebration of that album next year? And two, how would you say you've evolved since then as an artist? Because when I listen to Winterborn and compare that to King of the North, I still appreciate the technical excellence, the lyrical subject matter. A lot of the first album, you kind of hear like that debut charm in a way, or that underground innocence. But to me, I think Winterborn is just as strong as any other Wolfheart album. So what was the sort of mindset from Winterborn compared to now?
That is a long question. I think I lost the beginning. Yeah, celebration was the first one. Yeah. We've been actually planning one thing like would be really cool if we have the time and opportunity. We don't know yet the touring schedule. The whole Europe is in a really weird place at the moment because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But what would be really cool to make a acoustic version of the album with the clean vocal arrangements, pianos, baritone acoustic guitars, strings and stuff like that. Either do a streaming show or digital album or whatever, but like do a different version of the debut album to celebrate the 10 year. But that's just what we've been planning. Like I said, it takes time. to do such a thing, and we don't know the schedule yet. So hopefully something like that actually happens. Especially that we have two clean vocalists in the band, I think it would sound really good. But yeah, and looking back with the Winterborn, like it wasn't my first album. It was the first album of Wolfheart.
Yeah, of course.
But I think I wrote 13 albums by then already. So and what I consider to be the first Wolfheart album in my mind is the last album of Before the Dawn, the album called Rise of the Phoenix, and some of the songs from that album could be just copy pasted to Winterborn and they would fit there perfectly. That was like the transition album for me from my previous bands to Wolfheart. So it was not like a Winterborn is naturally the debut album for the band, but there was a longer process leading to that. So, and I've been just in my head, I've been just following that process from then. So I wouldn't be able to say anything if evolution or anything with the songwriting or anything. It's just I just kept doing the same thing, writing about the nature and history, and of course trying to make every album better than the previous one. But when it comes to how do I write or how do I approach writing, nothing has changed in that.
Okay. And because it is a subject matter that you've always talked about, and I've definitely mentioned this before, but is it also a personal aspect, whether it would be in Wolfheart or in any other project you're involved in? Has personal life or personal experience ever been a subject matter you wanted to address, or do you just look at music as a pure escapism?
That is the reason why I started to do Dawn of Solace again. Mm-hmm. Like I do enjoy, and I actually do need also to reflect certain personal things. Everybody has bad days, bad weeks, bad years, and you find a way to get that out of your system. And music is that for me. I don't want to write too personal stuff with Wolfheart because those are not the songs I enjoy doing live, and that becomes an issue easily. I think it's the second biggest views that we have in YouTube is the song called Flood. And I would never play the song live because of the personal connection. That the things that are in the lyrics are not meant to be kind of like it doesn't belong to a place where audience enjoys band performing. It's just it just wouldn't feel right. So that's why I try to avoid those topics in Wolfheart. And I'd rather put those in Dawn of Solace because there I play drums live. I can just kind of like stay in my bubble behind the drum kits, and other guys do the vocals and the playing, and I can just kind of like shut the meaning of the song away. But if I stand in the front, in the center, I do the vocals. I can't do that, so the personal stuff don't really belong to Wolfheart.
Fair enough. That's a totally good reason and explanation. And I have two more questions for you, and kind of going to what you said about the live shows, though, because when you are playing live, you are bringing songs from different albums into the set list. I'm sure we're going to have King of the North, some Winterborn, some Wolves of Cryalia, and so on and so forth. Do you feel that when you're like combining different songs from different albums in a set list, that brings a new layer of meaning to it when you're bringing it in a live setting and you're playing songs not so chronologically?
Yeah, it does, and I really enjoy how well the Winterborn songs have been still on the set list. Like it's more like a problem that we seem to have always too many of those, and we need to like cut some of the songs off to present other albums a little bit better also. But and it kind of like it gives a completely different lifespan for the album when certain songs live. Like the Hunt, for example, we just made the set list for the European tour, and that's going to be on the set list. We've been playing the song 10 years, and it still stays in every set list we ever played. So it, of course, it keeps the song alive in a good way.
Definitely.
And of course, it changes the meaning of the songs because, that song has been part of all the good and bad memories touring-wise also for me. So it's... me and that song has been seen a lot in the past. Hopefully, we'll see a lot in the future also. But
definitely.
But then, of course, that connects the music to the experiences that you have when you go and play the song live. You get to travel, you go to places, good and bad things happen, but the music is part of those.
Yeah, it's amazing on how like a song resonates with people differently live depending on where it stands in the set list. Circling back to
Yeah.
Kill Switch Engage, like they'll sometimes open with their biggest song, they'll sometimes play it in the middle, sometimes they'll play it at the end, and it's like a different reaction every time. So
And these certain songs have a different energy live. Like when I write the song and we record the song, it doesn't feel the same like it feels live. Like it kind of like when you put that like aggression and adrenaline into the music, that like there's been a lot of the like situation where we've been building the set list and we've been a little bit unsure of certain songs. And maybe we try this song once and see how it goes, and then it stays in the set list for 5 years because the energy in the stage is different and it changes the way we hear the song. And seeing the audience reactions also play quite a big role. Like yeah,
definitely.
live sets can alter quite a bit how you see your own music also.
Definitely. I've always like said that like you think you know a song when you finish recording it and mixing it and you release it. You think you may know that specific song, but once you play it live, you're gonna know it in a completely different way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, we have a different, like a little bit weird way to operate as a band. We don't really rehearse together.
Wow.
It's just like, well, our guitar player lives in Athens, and bass player he's like 200 kilometers away. So it's mostly me and the drummer playing together when we need to do that, which means like a few rehearsals before a tour or a gig. And when I write the album, I make pre-production on my own. I send the songs to the guys, and then we go through certain things with the drummer, but we never play the songs together before recording an album. So also like playing the songs together, the gigs are the first time we get to actually play the songs together. And that's of course the energy between the members also changes. Like when we get to play the songs together, it's a completely different, naturally different environment and situation than listens the album at home when everybody just played their own part. But when we get to play them together, we are actually, yeah.
I think that's actually a genius thing because, you know, I've always said that, you know, a song is a moment in time and you try to capture that moment. But, you know, you're working on a song for days and weeks at a time. You're playing the drums on tracking drums on a different day than you're tracking guitars or vocals, etc. So when you guys finally get together and you're playing that song live on the first time, that to me is the ultimate moment that each song could capture.
Yeah, I do agree.
And I have one more question for you. The final question I wanted to ask you is, I wasn't even sure if you or any member of Wolfheart or any Finnish or Swedish or Norwegian band was aware of this, but here in New York City, we have a huge thriving scene for the style of music that bands like Wolfheart or Insomnium would play. We have Solemn Vision, Dead City Crown, Jotunheim, Winter Nights, etc. A lot of great melodic death metal bands are here in New York City, but we're not from the forests of Finland. We're none of us are Vikings. A lot of us grew up in the inner.
Yeah.
A lot of us grew up in the inner cities and did not have any of the experiences or history that, you know, members of Wolfheart or Insomnium would have. But we do take a lot of inspiration, and they do write songs in that style with that lyrical subject matter. I'm not like accusing that of being like cultural appropriation or anything like that, but do you think that too alone makes their style a different connection with the past and a different connection of history than you particularly?
Well, naturally it's different, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like, well, me as a Finnish songwriter, writing about Finnish, I have naturally my connection is stronger in that way, but it doesn't mean that my connection is any better. If they are interested in like Nordic mythology or history and want to write about that, like I see that only as a good thing. Like it shouldn't be that way that only Finnish bands are allowed to, touch that topic. So yeah, I don't see anything bad about that at all. Naturally, it is different, but we use the graphic artist that does all our cover work and all our like even stage setup. He does the merchandise. All the graphic work from Wolfheart comes from one guy, and he lives in Greece in one of the islands. He's never seen a Finnish winter. I don't think he ever visited Finland, so he doesn't see what I see when I write about what I write in the lyrics or write in the songs, and then I explain him what I roughly want to have, like the graphic, like the visual side, and then because it's so exotic for him, it's not. It's very ordinary for me. Finnish winter or Finnish forest, I see that every year, every day. I work outside. I just came from work, from the woods, so there's nothing special about that. But when he does like art based on that, and he has to use his imagination, he adds another layer, which I really enjoy, that he makes the very ordinary things look special even for me, because he kind of like he has to use his imagination. So I wouldn't say my Finnish connection is any better than the melodic death metal bands in New York.
Okay, that's good to hear. You know, I would hear people like say, "Yeah, man, I'm a Viking." It really resonates to me. I'm like, "Oh, where are you from?" He goes, "I'm from Grand Concourse in the South Bronx." So
that's you shouldn't do that. That's a different thing. We wouldn't be able to call ourselves Vikings, because Finland was never part of the Viking history at all.
Which is a big common mistake and misinterpretation.
Yeah, it is a huge one, because actually there are stories that Vikings were afraid of the coast of Finland, because there were stories that there's witches living in the woods in Finland. But Finland has no like a Viking history at all. So if you ever come across with Finnish Viking metal band, that is wrong. That shouldn't be. Or if you have the Viking from New York, that's probably shouldn't be like that. But writing music about the topic is a different thing. But claiming to be part of that, like part of the history, that's not cool.
Yeah, if I wanted a pathetic Viking, I would go to Minnesota. But yeah, but I was very curious about that, because like I was having a conversation. It's gonna seem like a weird analogy about the game Call of Duty with my brother, because he thought that Call of Duty could be tasteless because people think that they know all about war from playing that video game, but they never fought in World War II or whatever war that game is representing at that time. But like at the same time, it is fairly educational. They do tell legit stories about World War II and whatever. So part of me wonders, like, is it almost tasteless for a game programmer in his bedroom who never held a gun in his life making games about war, whereas, you know, people who were never on a Viking ship or not from Sweden, right, you know.
But there's a difference. You can of course you can say that you know about the history or the war, or you know about the Vikings, and you can be inspired by it and write about it. Just don't say that you are a soldier if you play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that where you should draw the line. Like you can know everything about Vikings, you can write about them, be inspired by them. Don't be a Viking.
Yeah.
And that's pretty clear. Like I don't think it's tasteless at all, because where could you do art about if you would need to be? That connection doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, 100%. And hey, I think Aether Realm said it best, your label mates, melodic death metal from North Carolina, the Redneck Vikings from Hell. They have a big shirt that they sell that says, "We are not from Finland," because everybody thinks...
I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Check them out too. It's if you ever Redneck Vikings from Hell, it sounds exactly like what the title is. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time and for another great conversation, and I look forward to another one in the future. Just so with King of the North out now, fantastic album. Can we be expecting to see Wolfheart on the road, and is there anything else with any project that you're involved in that you would like to promote?
Well, Before the Dawn is making awkward comeback. I promised 2013 that band is going to be buried forever. And here we are recording the new album already, but also we are coming to North America with Wolfheart in the beginning of next year. So that's last proper tour was 3 years ago. That makes no sense that the time has gone so far.
4, I think.
Yeah, North American is 4, European is 3.
Yeah. The last time you came here was April 19th, 2019 with Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
But I was at Hatebreed that night, I remember, because I had to cover that. So it'll be great to see you again.
Yeah, we're going to be in New York in roughly somewhere in February, March.
Awesome. Well, we look forward.
If things go well. I'm just, every day when I open my phone, I just wait for the news for the end of the world or Third World War or whatever. It's just, We are living crazy times. We are living crazy times.
Definitely. I just hope that while you're looking at your phone, you have a guitar in your hand, because
That's the second thing I pick up. First, that's it. Take the phone, check the news. If the world is still there, then I'll start playing guitar.
Yep, and then grab a beer. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Wolfheart. King of the North is out now on Napalm Records. Be sure to pick that up. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.